Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money. With your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 441 of Screw the Commute podcast. I'm here with Tim Fitzpatrick. Now this guy claims that in 6 months of business, he learned as much as he did in 4 years of college. And I can go along with that in his day. However, now today you could probably do it in 6 minutes. Right? So the way they're doing to people now, of course, unless of course you're in the field of professional field of protesting, then you're kind of in a work study program. So anyway, we'll bring him on in a minute. He's going to give you a bunch of ways you can plan simply for your business for the best success, and a lot of great stuff. He's been through the ringer and knows what he's doing. All right, hope you didn't miss episode 440. That was Mickey Kennedy. He is a press release expert and has a press release service. And I built my entire career long before the internet on publicity. Been on over 1,000 programs, radio, TV, anything you can imagine all over the world. And I'm a big believer in publicity, but press releases are a different animal now than they used to be because you can use video and audio and you're going directly to the public. So that's what we discussed on episode 440. And of course, if you want to find a back episode, you go to screwthecommute.com and then / the episode number /440. All right, so how'd you like me to send you big checks? Well, I've been in this business a long time and sent a lot of money to a lot of people because of our affiliate program. So this is where you can join and refer my products and services and get big checks. Now, we have commissions. Now, listen to this. I hope you're sitting down. Anywhere from $8.50, ooh, up to, now you can stand up, $5,000. All right, so and everything in between. But if you, the $850 is for a lot of little stuff, but, you sell 100 books of mine, you get $850, So I love to send those checks out to people. So check that out and contact me if you want to get involved. All right, grab a copy of our automation ebook. This ebook has allowed me to handle up to 150,000 subscribers and 40,000 customers without pulling my hair out. And just one of the tips in this book has saved me. We actually figured it out a couple years ago, 7.5 million keystrokes, and allows me to ethically steal customers from people because they're too darn slow getting back. They're sitting at the beach with their feet up or hiding in what Tim calls blowhards, showing you around their rented house and making you believe they own it. All right, so no, I take their customers because we're real and we actually take care of people in a hurry around here. So grab that at screwthecommute.com/automate free, screwthecommute.com/automate free, and pick up a copy of our podcast app while you're at it at screwthecommute.com/app. That's APP. All right. You've heard me talk about my school before, but there's something very special going on right now in that we're doing a pilot program for persons with disabilities. The school is perfect for people that have physical challenges because not only can they legitimately learn from home, they can legitimately be employed from home. And of course, I've been preaching that for 23 years. But nowadays with the pandemic, everybody's like, oh, you can work from home now. Yeah, I think you can. I've been doing it for actually 44 years, since before the internet, long before the internet was around. So yes, you can. So check that out at my school is imtcva.org. It's the only licensed dedicated internet marketing school in the country, probably the world, licensed to operate by SHEB, the State Council on Higher Education in Virginia. But you don't have to be in Virginia because it's distance learning, and it's high quality distance learning as opposed to these colleges now that all of a sudden with the pandemic, they got a distance learning program so they can, rip you off from a distance rather than locally. Right, so check it out because we only teach hardcore skills that are in high demand, and we have people making money before they even graduate. So check that out at imtcva.org. A little later, I'll tell you how you can get a scholarship to the school and how you can participate in our crowdfunding campaign for 3 people with physical disabilities, and we'll be announcing that shortly, so watch for that. All right, let's get to the main event. Tim Fitzpatrick is an entrepreneur business owner with expertise in marketing and business growth. And he knows business growth because he grew one business 60% a year. Right? That's pretty serious. He's got 20 plus years of entrepreneurial experience with a passion for developing and growing businesses. He currently owns Rialto Marketing and helps service businesses simplify marketing so they can grow with less stress. Tim, are you ready to screw the commute?
Tom, yes, I am. I said screw the commute a long time ago.
Yeah, so. I love it, and you know, my bio looks like BS to people because when you're not sitting in traffic making somebody else rich, you can live like 2 or 3 lives.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
So what I'm confused about is you went to college and then you got into this wholesale marketing thing. But it wasn't clear to me, I've been checking up on you, exactly how that happened. How did you get in from graduating college to a business that then you grew by 60%? And this was back when flat screen TVs were 15 grand.
Yes. So
how'd you do it?
The short answer is nepotism.
Oh, that's always a handy thing to have.
The long answer is my dad had been a manufacturer's rep in the consumer electronics industry for a long time. And shortly before I graduated, he had started a wholesale distribution company. There were some shifts that were happening in the market at that time, and distribution served the dealer base very, very well. They needed products just in time. And rather than buying direct from manufacturers, it made a lot of sense to buy through distribution.
Mm-hmm.
And when I graduated from college, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was a math major, figured, hey, math is applied in all kinds of different business aspects. I'm just going to do that and I'll figure out what I'm going to do later. Well, I got out of college and my dad had no full-time employees in the company at that point. And I said, look, let me help you for the summer. I know you need some help. While I figure out what I want to do, I can interview for some jobs and figure it out. And he said, sure. So, I worked for the summer, and after 3 months, I was like, listen, I don't, if you'll have me, I don't want to go anywhere else because I love this. I'm having so much fun. I'm learning a ton. And he said, yeah, I would love to have you. You've been doing a great job. So that was that. And I was the first full-time employee. And I managed the company on a day-to-day basis. We had some other partners that were involved in the company, but so I worked with them from a strategic standpoint, but day-to-day, I was the person there that was running the ship. And that's how I got started.
And you made it grow by 60% a year and then it got acquired?
Yeah, we got acquired in 2005. And there was certainly a lot of things that fell into place there. I think I certainly can't take all the credit, and anybody that takes all the credit is full of it because there's all kinds of things beyond our control.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take some of the credit for it since you're giving it out. So
yeah, well, hey, we got into the business at a good time, like you said. When I got involved, flat panel televisions, a 50-inch Fujitsu plasma television was $15,000
wow.
at retail. So obviously there's been a lot of price compression in the market since then, but it was a very good time to be in the business. And we ended up partnering. Really, we had very strong relationships with other distributors like ourselves in other markets. And we ended up partnering with other distributors so that we could form nationwide access and nationwide distribution into the market we were serving, which was a very fractured market. It was hard. It was a hard market for manufacturers to call on. And so when we partnered together, we were able to go to a lot of manufacturers and say, hey, if you want nationwide instant access into this market, we can offer it to you. And it was right place, right time. And we ended up picking up a lot of really strong product lines to sell because of that. And that fueled our growth for a long time.
And I love the fact that there were people like you and still are in the world. Would I want any part of it? Absolutely not. When I can sell electrons and not worrying about dropping a $15,000 TV, I'm thrilled to death about it. So you got out of that, and then you got into a business that let me characterize as that I think you hated it, real estate, right? And you had
Yeah.
what cracked me up was when I heard you talking about this on another podcast. You had a mentor that had been it for a year and a half. I've been doing
Yes.
this 27 years online, and I'm a mentor, but a year and a half. But you didn't like the real estate stuff, huh?
I did not like it. It was not my thing.
Because everybody
Um,
is like, oh, real estate's there, real estate's this and that. And I have real estate, but I don't want anything to do with it.
yeah, I think, it's a great profession for some. For me, it was not. As you just mentioned, I love real estate from an investment standpoint, but it was not my thing for my day-to-day work. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and especially with a very experienced mentor of a year and a half.
Well,
Okay.
here's what I'll tell you. He, um, he was killing it. He was doing amazing work in the short sale and foreclosure space, which, in 2010 was a very hot market. And um, I learned a ton from him. And I was constantly putting myself outside my comfort zone, which pushed me, and I learned a ton doing it.
Yeah, well, that's
I
good.
just
But I
didn't
mean,
enjoy it.
he was killing it, but you weren't. You said you were doing more work than you ever did for less money.
I was,
Well,
and I was, I was door knocking foreclosures. I was knocking on people's doors who were about to go into foreclosure, and you know, I was, I had some success, but it was not where it needed to be, and I just felt like I was spinning my wheels.
well, I'm glad you got out of that because we need you in the marketing space. And you said marketing shouldn't be difficult. All you need is the right plan. Tell us about that. Why? I know from being in this forever that every day something new comes out, and it's easy to
Yes.
get distracted for people. So, how do you simplify this for your clients?
Yeah, Tom, and I'm sure you see this when I was in distribution, there was not, I mean, marketing was primarily offline.
Yeah,
Websites were
simple.
just coming out. They were more like informational brochures online. Now there's so many different marketing channels, there's so many different tactics. There's no shortage of, the latest gurus pitching, the latest thing that you must do if you want to be successful. I just find that so many people are battling information overload when it
Hmm.
comes to marketing, and when they're in that place, they're just overwhelmed. And when you're overwhelmed, you can't create a plan. But if you don't have a plan of what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, everything looks like an opportunity. And so people just end up chasing the next shiny object, and then they chase the next shiny object, and they just never get traction. And to me, the way you simplify marketing and eliminate the difficulty that so many people have is you got to take it back to the fundamentals first. And to me, the fundamentals are, you got to know who your target market is. You have to have great messaging that's clear and engaging for that market, and you have to have a plan of how you're going to get that message in front of that audience. And when you've got that plan in place, you know where your priorities are, so you know what you're going to focus on. And when you know what your priorities are, you have clarity. And when you have clarity, you eliminate stress. When we're not clear about what we need to do, that's when stress starts to become a problem, and we can't make progress.
Well, now how do you build in, Tim, flexibility into a plan? Because I've been around a long time. You've been around a long time too. I remember MySpace when it was the end all be all, right? And so
Yes.
had somebody focused their plan only on MySpace, they're going to run into a wall at a point. And
Yes.
so how do you help people build flexibility in without running for every shiny object?
Yeah. The plan we use is a 90-day marketing plan.
Okay,
It's
good.
6 steps. It's the thing I love about 90 days is it's long enough to start seeing whether you're gaining traction, but it's short enough where you can make adjustments and course corrections and then continue moving forward.
Or
Our
quit if it's a total bust and you've only lost 90 days.
Right. But see, the problem is a lot of people try things and they don't give it long
Oh,
enough.
I totally am into that. I know that for sure. Yeah.
So you have to give it enough time. And if you do, then you can start to make those corrections. But, I mean, I talk about it all the time. People spend money on, a year-long marketing plan or longer, and they're just too complex. And when things are complex, we just don't implement well. If we had spent thousands of dollars on a year-long marketing plan last January, what
Hmm.
would have happened for most of us come March? We would have burned it, and it would have been a total waste of time. So let's keep it simple. Let's
Yeah, and
focus on.
I think that guy that wrote In Search of Excellence, I think this was the guy that said, you're crazy for making a long-term strategic planning because, by the time, the what you were going after is obsolete and there's new stuff that hasn't even been invented yet. So he's in favor of short-term plans too.
There's too many unknowns
Hmm.
when you start looking longer term. So let's focus on sprints and making adjustments and course corrections and then sprinting again. I just find it works so much easier and it's much more digestible for people to use, and they end up making more progress because they actually do what's in the plan.
Hmm. Now tell us about your storytelling marketing. You seem to really enjoy that. And what's the details of that?
Yeah, so we use a storytelling framework to help clients create messaging, what they're going to say and how they're going to say it.
This is part
Uh,
two of your plan, right? We're kind of going backwards a little bit.
yeah, it's okay. We're working our way
Yeah.
backwards. But with and I didn't come up with this, right? It was popularized by a company called Story Brand by Donald Miller.
Hmm.
But the storytelling framework that he used and he's kind of modified into the marketing world has been around for a long time. And when it was introduced to me, it just, it made sense. I was like, gosh, there's so many people out there that struggle with how to communicate their value and what they do. Um, this just made sense to me. And when I started talking to clients about it, it made a ton of sense. And, the whole premise behind the framework is, look, when you think about most stories, there's a character or a hero, they have a problem, they meet a guide that gives them a plan, they calls them to action so they avoid failure and they reach success. And so we take that same framework and we use it from a marketing perspective where we're inviting the customer into a story where they are the hero and our business that is serving them is the guide,
Hmm.
right? Our customers, they're not looking for a hero. They're looking for a guide that knows how to solve the problem that they have and can help guide them on the steps that they need to take to get from where they currently are to where they want to go.
Hmm.
And when you use frameworks within your business, right, it just keeps things structured and it's something that you can go back to systematically so that you don't miss things. I find too many people with their messaging, they make it hard for people to understand what they do. Okay. And if we confuse people, we're going to lose them. And the second thing they do with messaging is they focus too much on themselves. And our customers they don't care about us. They care about what we can do for them. How can we help them? And when you use this framework, it really steers you in the direction of focusing what you're saying on the customer and not yourself. You're only talking about yourself enough to position yourself as the guide, and that's it.
Now, are you putting them in the story or are you telling stories of other people you've helped?
No, you're putting them in the story.
Okay. Give us an example of the kind of language you would use to put, say, somebody like me in a story.
Well, so
See, because
um,
it's all about me. You got
yeah. So
it.
look, we started this conversation and I started talking about how we find that so many customers are battling information overload when it comes to marketing. Okay. Information overload in the story that we are inviting our clients into is the villain in the story.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're battling that villain of information overload, they feel overwhelmed. That's the internal problem that they have. The external problem that our clients are dealing with is they don't have a plan, or they don't have the right plan, so they don't know what the heck they should be focusing on. Right? So that's how we start. The way we invite people into the story is talking about the problems that they're experiencing, what they're battling. And then from there, we can start to paint the picture of what we can help them avoid from a failure standpoint, what consequences they can avoid, and start to paint the picture of what success looks like. What benefits are you going to experience? What results are you going to experience when you work with us? And that's what we're doing. And every time we need to create a message, whether it's for, a social media campaign or an email campaign or ads that you're going to write, you come back to your playbook with this framework and you just pull the elements that you need to create a message. You're not reinventing the wheel each and every time.
Now, I typically do things backwards, so your 3 fundamental marketing secrets were target, messaging, and plan. So we talked about plan. We backed up to now you just finished messaging, but both of those are worthless if you don't do number 1, right?
Yes, they are.
Tell us about number 1.
So number 1's your target market, which is, who are you going to serve and how are you going to serve those people?
And most people are all over the place.
Yeah. Yes. Too broad. Right. And unless, the example I always bring up is Amazon, right? Because people look at Amazon today and go, oh my gosh, they target damn near everybody. But they didn't start out that way. Amazon was an online book retailer.
I remember their ads, their radio ads when they first started. It was like the biggest bookstore in the world. It was something, that kind of theme.
That was their niche, right? And once they nailed that niche, then they started to expand out from there. And now they're so large, well, that's great. They have plenty of money to do that. But most small businesses do not have the money that they need to target broadly. You have to focus. And when you end up focusing on those people that you're going to serve, it becomes so much easier to, one, understand them and the problems that they have. And when you understand them well, it makes it that much easier to create messaging that's going to be clear and engaging. But the other thing that it allows you to do is start to identify where they are. If I'm going to target, specialize in serving chiropractors, right? Well, knowing that fact, I can now start to enter the conversation that they're having in their head as it relates to what I do. But I can also start to create a list of where are they? Where are they online? Where are they offline? What associations do they belong to? What people do they follow online? What podcasts do they listen to? What email list are they on? What associations? And as I create that list, I am creating a list of all the potential places that I can start to be to get my message in front of those chiropractors.
And then as a spin-off of that, you're bringing in higher quality leads, right? I know you're really into helping people do that because you've already, it's easier to convert somebody when you know all about them than if you just don't know about them.
Yes, when you know all about them, your messaging is much clearer, much more engaging to that audience. And because of that, you attract more leads, you convert more leads. So we've got to, some people say you got to go super narrow and really deep. I think
you can go broke by the time you get done with that too.
Yeah,
if it's too narrow.
I think you need to go narrow enough where you can start to. I think you're narrow enough when you communicate a message to that target market and they say, "Oh, Tom's talking to me," or "Tim's talking to me." If they can relate to what you're saying, I think in most cases you've gone deep enough.
And if both of us are talking to them, one of us is going to get them.
Right. Yeah.
So how did you come up with the Marketing Hourglass? What's that all about?
Well, so the marketing hourglass is something I did not come up with that. It was the marketing hourglass was a creation from John Jantz over at Duct Tape Marketing. Super smart guy. He's been in small business marketing for I don't know how many 30 plus years, something like that. But the concept of the marketing hourglass is how he has described the buyer's journey. And so when we talk about the buyer's journey from a marketing standpoint, we're talking about that experience that a prospect has from the moment they think about working with a company like yours, all the way through buying and doing repeat and referral business. And so we all know what an hourglass is, right? You got the sand and then you flip it over and the sand's at the top and it slowly works its way down back down to the bottom. And with the John talks about the buyer's journey in 7 phases. So you starting at the top, the beginning of the buyer's journey or the beginning of the hourglass, you have know, like, trust, try, buy, repeat, and refer. So many people look at the buyer's journey as a funnel. And the thing I love about the hourglass is down at the bottom of the hourglass, you've got repeat and referral business, which repeat and referral business is incredibly important
Mm-hmm.
to every business. So, if you only look at the buyer's journey as a funnel, I think you're missing a really important half of the equation. And that's why I love how John has positioned it. But, when you think about marketing and what the job of marketing is, to me, it's getting someone who has a need or a problem you can solve to know, like, and trust you. And when our marketing helps people get to know, like, and trust us, right? Then it's so much easier for them to raise their hand and say, yeah, I'd like to try. And then I'd like to buy. And then I want to do repeat and referral business. So when we look at the buyer's journey or the marketing hourglass, what we're doing is looking at each of these phases and we start to identify, hey, what are the expectations and the actions that our prospects and customers are taking at each of these phases? And then what can we do at each phase to meet those expectations, to address those needs? And when we can meet needs at each phase, we can logically just help people move through the buyer's journey in a very strong and efficient fashion.
Now they can help you with this, right? Because I think you're a proponent of client interviews. Tell us about that.
Yes. So client interviews it's a tool that we use when we're starting to work with clients on the fundamentals. Super important from a messaging standpoint. But it's also oftentimes we as business owners have a very hard time articulating our value and what we do and why we're different because we can't see the forest through the trees. We're so in our business, it's difficult to think objectively about it. But when you sit down and interview past and current clients that are ideal clients for you, the information that you can gain from that is invaluable. Even if you were to sit down and have a conversation with 8 to 10 of your clients and you ask them, questions like, what was the problem that you had before you started working with us? How did you find us? What terms did you search for? What have you loved about working with us? What about working with us is different than anybody else that you've worked with in our space? Things like that, where you can just start to get into their head and they can help you understand what makes you so valuable. Man, you can take that information and just turn it around. And it's one of the things that really can help you get in the head of your ideal clients.
Exactly. So great information so far. Folks, we got to take a brief sponsor break. When we come back, we'll ask Tim, what's a typical day look like for him as he's screwing the commute, which he's been doing for a long time. So that's why I like it. So folks, about 23 years ago, I kind of turned the internet marketing guru world on its head in that people at my level were charging like 50 or 100 grand up front to teach you what they knew. And I knew a lot of these guys. You give them 50 grand up front, you'd never see them again. They'd take off with it and not even help you. So I thought, man, this is not right. And, I've been selling on the internet since it started in 1994. And I thought, that's just not right to put small business people in that position. So I turned everything upside down, made them all mad by just charging, I don't know, about 10% as an entry fee into the program. And then I tied my success to their success. So for me to get my 50 grand, they had to make 200 grand. Well, people really like this, and they still do, because 1,700 plus students later and 23 years, it's still going strong. It's the longest running, most successful, most unique mentor program ever. And I have no trouble saying that because, I triple dog dare people to put their programs up against mine and what they can do for people. So, for instance, you have unlimited one-on-one tutoring with me and my entire staff. Well, what does that mean to you? Well, you're not lumped in with people that are too advanced and you're lost. And if you're advanced, I can talk to you at your level and not make you bored while I'm talking to a beginner. See, so nobody, nobody at my level will even talk to you at all, let alone help you do anything. I'm quite a fanatic. Then you have an immersion weekend where people come in from all over the world to study internet marketing in the lap of luxury at the big internet marketing retreat center. So you come here, you're immersed, you live in the state with me. We have a TV studio. We shoot your marketing videos for you, edit them, put the graphics on for them. So these are things you just can't get anywhere else. Plus, you get a scholarship to the school I was telling you about earlier, which you can either use yourself or gift to someone else. And we have one guy gifted to his daughter. She's 4 months in the school. She's making $6,000 a month as a side hustle. All right. So this is stuff that you just cannot get anywhere else. And I'm a crazy fanatic, and I'm not going to disappear on you because I won't get my 50 grand. All right. So I want my 50 grand. So anyway, check that out at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. And very accessible. You can talk about your future online. And also, this school would be such a legacy gift for grandchildren, nephews, nieces, or your own kids, because it's actual skills that are in high demand by every business on earth. So you can either work for somebody else, start your own business, or both. And so we have plenty of people that have done it already. All right, so check it out. All right, let's get back to the main event. Tim Fitzpatrick is here from Rialto Marketing, and we want to see what a typical day looks like for him. But before I hear about that, I want to hear about the name. How'd you get the name?
Great question, Tom. Two reasons. One, my wife and I started our honeymoon in Venice, where the Rialto Bridge is. So
okay.
That's one. The second is when you think about bridges, I think they are symbolic of getting you from where you currently are to where you want to go. And I see marketing as doing that for business owners. You can have the best product or service in the world, but if you don't have marketing bringing in leads and customers, then none of it matters.
For sure. And the dumb joke about Venice is, it's really stupid. It's so dangerous in Venice, you can't walk down the streets anymore.
Yeah.
So if you didn't get that, folks, you probably went to a 4-year college. So what's a typical day look like for you?
Typical days, the way I structure my weeks typically is Monday and Fridays are planning days. They're days for me.
Okay, well, hold on. Not just business, Tim. Do you have like a morning routine like a lot of people talk about? Tell us about that.
Yeah. So my weekdays, okay, I get up at 5 o'clock every morning.
Okay.
I've always been an early riser. I'm married. I have 2 kids, 2 dogs. 5 to 7 o'clock is like the only quiet time in the house. So
okay.
I get up at 5 o'clock. I meditate for 10 to 15 minutes. And then I exercise for about 45 minutes to an hour. And that's how I start my days. It gets me in the right frame of mind. I get the blood flowing a little bit, and then I have breakfast and start my days. So
all right.
That's how I start every weekday, and then from there, I get into doing my work.
Were the kids home from school because of the pandemic and stuff?
Yeah, yeah, they have. And I'm fortunate to have enough space in the house where, we all have dedicated space.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been okay, and we're able to work through that. Um, because you gotta have quiet time. But
Yeah.
from there, I usually leave the mornings open to focus on the important things that I need to do to move the needle. I would say some days I'm better at that than others. But if you let the tyranny of the urgent get in the way of the important, you're never gonna have success. So I try and block off the mornings to focus on what I need to, and then in the afternoons, I'm doing things like this: interviews, client work, client meetings, prospect calls, those types of things. So that's what a typical
Do you
day
have
looks
a
like for me.
staff, or are you doing this all your own?
I have three remote people that
Mm-hmm.
work with us. They are all overseas.
Okay.
Um, and but they're contractors, but they work for us full time, and I treat them like they were their employees, because in my mind they are.
All in the same country?
I have two in the Philippines and one in Croatia.
Yeah, because yeah, we're total big proponent of the Philippines.
Yeah,
I've never tried Croatia.
yeah. There's really what I found is the Philippines. Man, people in the Philippines work very, very hard. There's some very talented people there.
They
Um,
speak better English than I do.
Yeah, some of them do. They speak very good English. So, and their work ethic is very, very good. Um, Eastern Europe, um, there are some really, really qualified people in Eastern Europe. Um, especially from a technical standpoint. So, I actually, when I hired the person that I have that lives in Croatia is our project manager and client support person. And when I hired him, it was actually right as the pandemic was hitting. And I hired him from through a website called jobrack.eu.
Mm-hmm.
Phenomenal website. Highly recommended if you are looking at hiring people from Eastern Europe. Use it. Um, they made it so easy for me. And there's tons of qualified people on there. So, when I need to hire somebody from that area again, I will definitely be using them again.
Yeah. So we've had a lot of success with the Philippines. I mean, the last person I had doing writing for me was was an executive director of a bank who was on maternity leave and just desperate for something to do. I was giving her, and I didn't pick this amount. She was getting $1.74 an hour, and just thrilled to death. so, and she was just brilliant. Of course, after a maternity leave, she went back to the bank. But yeah, we've had great success with them, and they don't try to rip you off. They don't even want to be in business. If you know their culture in the
Yep.
Philippines, they're like, if they told their friend that they wanted to start their own business, their friends would be like, "What's wrong with you? You crazy?" But it's really cool to have a foreign boss. So they don't want to lose that job for sure.
Yeah.
All
I
right,
think
so
they want stability, and they want full-time work and something that they can take some meaning from. And I think the biggest mistake people make when they hire remotely is they look at it as, oh, I'll hire this person, and if it doesn't work out, no big deal. And most people, I shouldn't say most, the when things fall through, it's because they don't treat people appropriately. It's like, I mean, they're people too. Just because they're live, multiple countries away doesn't mean that you shouldn't be treating them like any other human being.
well,
So,
also it's really important to learn their culture.
yes.
I failed miserably, and I treat everybody nice, but I didn't understand the culture in the Philippines until I took some training on it, and I found out about what's called the 13th month.
Yes. Yeah.
And just bringing that up when I was talking to people, they like their whole eyes like lit up. Oh my God, this guy is not going to cheat us in December. And also, that does have a heavy Asian influence in the concept of losing face. And so they don't want to admit that they can't do anything. And so if you ask them to do something and they can't do it, they've been known to just disappear because it's embarrassing to them. So I treated them like kid gloves. Like, I know I'm going to teach you how to do this. It's going to be a good learning experience. Don't worry, and then they stuck with me longer because they didn't have to feel embarrassed. So just a lot of cultural things. I don't know about Croatia, but if I was going to hire somebody, I would go learn about the cultural mores, and you'll have much greater success.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think it's, just having an open line of communication, and making
Speaking of
people
communication,
feel
how do you communicate with them? How do you
I
do it?
communicate. So one, I use Loom, the
Okay.
screen capture
Mhm.
software.
Yeah.
I don't even know how many times a day. It's a lot. Um, Loom is a lifesaver. And then we communicate, through our project management software. I have a staff meeting with them every couple weeks. So, we're communicate, even though we don't, sit there and pick up the phone, we communicate daily. And I find that video and screen capture is a much easier and quicker way to communicate.
Mhm.
So many times, I mean, if I had to sit down and type out an email like that, it would take me,
Yeah.
it could 30, 45 minutes, whereas I can just say it and show people exactly what I need done on the screen. It's just so much more effective.
Yeah, I've been using Camtasia since it began around the year 2000, like 21
Yeah.
years. And I use it for a lot of other things too. I do affiliate marketing with it, where I show a software and then they have to, click through my affiliate link to buy the software to be able to do what I showed them on the Camtasia. And then also for new hires, instead of saying the same stuff all the time, I just say, watch these Camtasia videos, and then I don't have to sit there and hold their hand through basic stuff. So it's just really a great tool. And Loom is like the email version, right? Is that?
Yeah, I guess you could put it that way. I don't, it's all cloud based. I mean, I've
Mhm.
got, I do have a desktop app, but there's also a Chrome plugin, and
Yeah, I
it's
think
super
Loom makes
easy.
it easy to transmit the video. Camtasia is great at capture and screen capture, but and does a lot of other things. But yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about Loom. Now you got some giveaways for the folks, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking about that, Tom. We put together some resources to help your listeners with some of these fundamentals that we talked about today. So if they go to our website at rialtomarketing.com, that's RIALTO marketing.com /screw the commute. There's a ton of stuff there. The marketing plan template we use, the customer insights survey you asked me about, the messaging framework template that we use, all of that stuff is right there. They can take advantage of it. If they run into some roadblocks as they start to work on this, just click the get a free consult button. Be happy to sit down and chat for a few minutes and help you push through those roadblocks to help you get to where you want to be.
Beautiful. We'll have that. It's rialtomarketing.com /screw-the-commute. And of course, that'll be in the show notes. So all you have to do is click on it and go take advantage of all those great things Tim's provided. So Tim, thanks so much for coming on and giving us these really great insights.
Thanks so much for having me, Tom. It's been fun.
Okay, everybody, we will catch you all in the next episode. Get over there and click on the